The massive alien ship moved through space like a giant metal whale. Its surface was covered in strange blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Captain Zethkar stood on his command deck, his green scales shifting color as he felt nervous. In his 40 years of space travel, he had never seen readings like these. "Sir, we are getting closer to the third planet," said his science officer, Quintal. The small alien's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he stared at his computer screen. "The numbers still don't make sense." Zethkar walked over to look at the data. According to their machines, this planet called Earth should be dead. The air had too much oxygen. The water was too salty in some places and had no salt in others. Massive storms moved across the surface with winds that could tear apart their strongest ships. Lightning bolts carried enough power to run a city. "For days, how can anything live down there?" Zethkar whispered, but the scans showed life everywhere. Not just tiny creatures hiding in safe places, but billions of large beings walking around in the open. They had built huge cities right where the worst weather happened. They had covered the planet with roads and buildings and strange metal. Flying machines. "Captain, we are getting a signal," called the communications officer. Her purple tentacles moved quickly over her controls. "It's coming from the planet." On Earth, far below, Commander Jake Morrison stood in a room full of computer screens and blinking lights. He wore a blue uniform with small metal pins on his chest. His short brown hair was neat and his brown eyes were calm, even though this was the most important day in human history. "Sir, the alien ship is responding to our signal," said Lieutenant Kelly Brooks. She was a young woman with red hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. Her fingers moved fast over her keyboard as she tried to make contact with beings from another world. Jake picked up his radio. "This is Commander Morrison of United Earth Defense Force. We welcome you to our solar system. We come in peace." The message traveled through space in a burst of radio waves. On the alien ship, the computers translated the strange sounds into words their crew could understand. But the words were not what shocked them most. "Captain," Quintal said, his voice shaking, "the signal is coming from the surface of the planet." "That's impossible," Zethkar replied. "Nothing could survive down there long enough to build technology." "Doctor." Lisa Carter sat in a laboratory filled with books, papers, and strange machines. She had spent her whole life studying space and wondering if humans were alone in the universe. Now she knew they were not. She wore a white coat over her regular clothes, and her long black hair was tied back so it would not get in her way while she worked. "Jake, we need to be very careful," she said into her phone. "We don't know anything about them. They could be friendly or they could be dangerous." Jake nodded even though she could not see him. "I understand, Lisa, but this is our chance to learn that we're not alone." Back on the alien ship, the crew was having their own meeting. Zethkar looked at his officers with concern. "According to our databases, this planet is what we call a Class 12 death world. Nothing should be able to live there." His medical officer, a tall, thin alien named Velinara, spoke up. "Sir, our scans show that the beings on this planet are made mostly of water. The same water that falls from their sky in frozen chunks the size of our shuttles. They breathe an atmosphere that would burn our lungs," added Quintal. "The pressure at their surface would crush most of our equipment. And somehow they built machines that can fly through air so thick it would stop our ships." Zethkar felt his scales turn dark blue, which happened when he was afraid. In all his travels across the galaxy, he had never heard of intelligent life surviving on such a dangerous world. Most planets that supported life were calm and peaceful. Gentle winds, soft rain, mild temperatures. This Earth was like a cosmic horror story. "Sir, they're sending another message," the communications officer announced. Jake's voice came through their speakers again. "We would like to meet with you. We can send a small ship to yours, or you can send representatives to meet us. We have prepared a safe meeting place." The alien crew looked at each other with worry. How could these Earth beings offer them safety when they lived on a planet that could kill galactic travelers just by existing there? Dr. Carter was busy preparing for the meeting that might happen. She had gathered a team of Earth's best scientists, diplomats, and military officers. They sat around a long table in an underground bunker that was built to survive nuclear war. "Remember," she told the group, "we represent all of humanity today. We need to show them that we are peaceful but not weak, smart but not threatening." Colonel Amy Roberts, a strong woman with short blonde hair and sharp green eyes, spoke up. "What if they're not friendly? What if they see us as a threat?" "Then we'll deal with that when it happens," Jake replied. "But for now, we assume they're here to learn about us, just like we want to learn about them." On the alien ship, Captain Zethkar made his decision. "We will send a shuttle to meet them, but we stay in orbit. If this planet is as dangerous as our scans suggest, we don't want to get too close." He chose 3 crew members for the meeting. Quintal would study the humans and their technology. Velinara would examine their biology to understand how they survived. And he would go himself to speak for his people. As the alien shuttle prepared to leave their ship, the crew felt nervous. They wore special suits that would protect them from Earth's dangerous environment. Their breathing equipment carried safe air from their ship. Their suits could handle extreme temperatures, crushing pressure, and toxic gases. They had no idea that humans walked around in Earth's environment, wearing nothing but thin cloth. The shuttle ride down to Earth was terrifying for the aliens. They passed through clouds that sparked with electricity. They flew through air so thick their shuttle shook and rattled. Rain hit their windows like bullets. By the time they landed at the meeting place, all 3 aliens were convinced they had traveled to the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. Jake, Lisa, and Amy waited for them at a simple building near a military base. They wore normal clothes and breathed the air without any protection. When the alien shuttle landed, they walked outside to greet their visitors. The aliens stepped out of their shuttle like they were walking into a war zone. Every sensor on their suits was beeping warnings. The air around them was full of water vapor, oxygen, and nitrogen in amounts that should kill them instantly. The gravity was crushing their bones. The temperature was hot enough to cook food, and yet 3 humans stood there smiling and waving, completely comfortable in conditions that would destroy most civilizations. "Welcome to Earth," Jake said. Stepping forward with his hand extended in friendship, Captain Zethkar looked at the human's hand, then at his own readings, then back at the human. According to his equipment, Jake Morrison should be dead. But instead, he was offering what appeared to be a gesture of peace. For the first time in his long career of exploring space, Captain Zethkar realized he was looking at something completely new. A species that not only survived on a death world, but called it home. The meeting was about to begin, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. 3 weeks had passed since the first meeting between humans and aliens. The small alien team now lived in a special building on Earth, though they still wore their protective suits at all times. Their leader, Captain Zethkar, had agreed to stay longer to study these strange humans who lived on what his people called a death world. Dr. Ben Taylor walked into the meeting room, carrying a cup of coffee and a stack of papers. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes behind wire glasses. As Earth's lead scientist on the alien exchange program, he had volunteered to wear one of the alien monitoring devices. The small metal disc stuck to his chest and sent information about his body back to the alien ship in orbit. "Good morning, Quintal," Ben said cheerfully to the 4-eyed alien scientist. "How are the readings today?" Quintal stared at his computer screen with all 4 eyes wide open. His small green hands shook as he pointed at the numbers. "Dr. Taylor, according to our equipment, you should have died 17 times since yesterday." Ben laughed and took a sip of his coffee. "Really? I felt pretty good. What's wrong now?" "Your heart rate went up to 180 beats per minute yesterday afternoon. That should cause immediate heart failure in any intelligent species," Quintal explained. His voice sounded worried and confused. "Oh, that was when I went jogging with Colonel Roberts," Ben said, like it was nothing special. "We only ran 5 miles. Amy usually runs much farther than that." Quintal's computer made a beeping sound. "And your body temperature reached 101 degrees. That's hot enough to cook protein." I was just sweating, Ben replied. It was a warm day. Humans sweat. To cool down, don't your people do that? The alien scientist looked horrified. We die if our internal temperature changes by more than 2 degrees. Across the building, Colonel Amy Roberts was in the gym with 2 alien observers. She wore simple workout clothes and was doing what she called basic military exercises. The aliens, Velenar and Murthek, watched her through the safety of their environmental suits. Amy picked up a metal bar with heavy weights on both ends. The bar weighed 200 pounds, which was more than Amy's own body weight. She lifted it over her head 10 times, then set it down and smiled. That was just a warm-up, she told the aliens. Want to see me do some real lifting? Velenara, the medical officer, checked her readings with panic. Colonel Roberts, our scanners show that the weight you just lifted should have crushed your bone structure. How are you still standing? Amy looked confused. This is normal training weight. Human bones are pretty strong. We need to be able to carry heavy things. She moved to a machine with a thick rope hanging from it. Amy grabbed the rope and pulled herself up until her chin was above a metal bar. She did this 20 times without stopping. Impossible, Murthek whispered to his partner. She's lifting her entire body weight with just her arms. The muscle power required should tear her apart. Amy heard him and grinned. This is nothing. My record is 50 pull-ups. My friend Jake from the Navy can do 100? The aliens looked at each other with fear. What kind of species could perform feats of strength that broke all known laws of biology? In the cafeteria, engineer Pete Johnson was having lunch with Dr. Lisa Carter. Pete was a big man with rough hands and a friendly smile. He had worked on construction sites his whole life before joining the space program. Lisa was explaining human eating habits to an alien nutritionist named Zendar. So humans can eat both plants and animals? Zendar asked through his translator device. That's right, Lisa said. We're what we call omnivores. We can eat almost anything organic. Pete picked up a small bottle and shook some red powder onto his food. The alien sensors immediately started screaming warnings. Stop, Zendar shouted. That substance is capsaicin. It's a biological weapon. It will burn through your digestive system. Pete looked at the hot sauce bottle and chuckled. This is just as mild sauce. I like the really spicy stuff, but they don't serve that here because it's too hot for most people. He took a big bite of his food and smiled. That's good. Gives it some flavor. Zendar's equipment showed that Pete had just consumed enough capsaicin to kill 3 alien crew members. But the human was eating it like it was candy. Lisa decided to make things worse by offering the aliens some chocolate. Would you like to try some human dessert? She held out a small brown square. Zendar's scanner analyzed it and nearly exploded with warning signals. That contains theobromine, caffeine, and sugar in deadly concentrations, the alien cried. 1 bite would poison our entire crew. Really? Lisa asked, then popped the chocolate into her mouth. I love chocolate. Most humans do. We give it to children as treats. The alien medical staff had to be called when Zendar fainted from shock. That afternoon, Dr. Sam Parker was trying to explain human medicine to the alien medical team. Sam was a doctor who had worked in hospitals for 20 years. He wore a white coat and had a calm way of speaking that usually made people feel better. So when humans get sick, their body temperature rises, Sam explained to Velenara and 2 other alien doctors. We call this a fever. It helps fight infection. How high? Does this temperature rise? Velenara asked nervously. Oh, it can go up to 104 or even 105 degrees Fahrenheit, Sam said casually. At that point, we start to worry and give medicine to bring it down. The aliens stared at him in horror. You survive internal temperatures of 104 degrees? Sure, it's not comfortable, but humans are pretty tough. Kids get fevers all the time and they're fine after a few days. Velenara checked her notes. According to our medical knowledge, a fever of 104 degrees should cause brain damage and death within hours. Sam shrugged. Human brains are built to handle it. We're pretty good at surviving things that would kill other species, I guess. He pulled out a medical textbook and showed them pictures of human surgery. Look, here's how we fix a broken bone. We cut the person open, put metal pieces inside their body, and sew them back up. They walk around with metal in their bones for the rest of their lives. The alien doctors looked ready to pass out. The idea of cutting open a living being and putting foreign objects inside them was beyond their understanding. And this doesn't kill them? One of the aliens asked weakly. Nope, makes them stronger, actually. The bone heals better with the metal support. Later that day, Quintal was in his lab trying to understand how humans had survived on Earth for so long. He had been studying their history, and the results were terrifying. Captain, he called Zethkar on his communication device. I've discovered something about human history that explains everything. What did you find? Zethkar asked from orbit. This planet has tried to kill them 5 different times. Massive extinction events that wiped out most other life forms. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions that blocked out their sun. Each time, humans not only survived, but became stronger. Zethkar felt his scales turn dark blue again. Are you saying they evolved to survive planetary disasters? That's exactly what I'm saying. Every challenge this death world threw at them made them tougher. They didn't just adapt to survive, they adapted to thrive in conditions that would destroy most civilizations. The alien captain looked down at the blue and green planet below his ship. He was beginning to understand that humans weren't just lucky survivors. They were the product of millions of years of being tested by one of the galaxy's most dangerous worlds, and they had passed every test. Quintal, prepare a full report for the Galactic Council, Zethkar ordered. They need to know what we've discovered here. What should I tell them, sir? Zethkar watched the sun set over Earth's surface, creating colors in the sky that were beautiful and deadly at the same time. Tell them we've found something new. A species that doesn't just live on a death world, they were made by it. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room on the space station that orbited the galaxy's center. Representatives from 200 different worlds sat in curved rows that went up to the ceiling. Today, the room was more crowded than it had been in 50 years. Everyone wanted to hear about the strange new species that lived on the planet called Earth. Ambassador Lia Andros stood at the center of the room. She was tall and thin with silver skin that shimmered under the lights. As the leader of the peaceful confederation, she had seen many first contact reports, but nothing had prepared her for this one. Fellow council members, she began, we are here to discuss the classification of the 3rd planet in the Sol system, the planet its inhabitants call Earth. A low murmur went through the crowd. Most aliens in the galaxy had heard rumors about this new world. The story seemed too strange to be true. Captain Zethkar of the Vorthan Empire will present his findings, Lia Andros announced. Captain Zethkar walked to the speaking platform. His green scales had turned a pale color, which showed he was nervous. In his hands he carried a data pad with information that would change how the galaxy thought about life itself. Honored council members, Zethkar began, I must report that we have discovered a Class 12 death world with intelligent life. This is the first time in galactic history that such a thing has been recorded. The room erupted in shocked voices. Several alien representatives stood up from their seats. A Class 12 death world was supposed to be impossible for complex life to survive on. That cannot be correct, called out diplomat Francis from the Academic Union. Our scientists have proven that Class 10 is the maximum rating for any world that supports intelligence. Zethkar looked at his datapad. I have spent 2 months studying these humans. Every day they break what we thought were the absolute limits of biological survival. On a large screen behind him, images of Earth appeared. The aliens in the council chamber gasped as they saw massive storms with lightning bolts, huge waves, crashing against coastlines and mountains of ice and snow. The atmospheric pressure alone should crush most galactic species, Zethkar continued. The oxygen levels would burn our lungs. The gravity would break our bones. Yet humans walk around in this environment wearing only thin pieces of cloth. Down on Earth, Marine Captain Roy Adams was getting ready for a demonstration. He had been asked to show alien observers what human military training looked like. Roy was a strong man with short black hair and scars on his hands from years of combat training. He had no idea that his simple exercise routine was being broadcast to the entire galaxy. "Okay, gentlemen," Roy told his squad of 12 Marines. "We're going to do a basic training run, 20 miles with full gear. Try not to embarrass the human race." The Marines laughed and picked up their heavy backpacks. Each pack weighed 60 pounds and contained everything a soldier might need to survive in the wilderness for a week. In orbit above Earth, alien military observers watched in terror as the humans began to run. Their monitoring equipment showed heart rates that should have caused instant death. The weight they carried should have crushed their spines. The distance they planned to cover would kill most galactic soldiers even without any gear. "Sir," one observer said to his commander, "they're running at a pace that our best warriors could only maintain for a few minutes. And they plan to keep this up for hours." Back in the council chamber, Seth Carr was showing more images from Earth. These pictures showed human cities built right next to active volcanoes, on the edges of moving ground plates and in areas that were hit by massive storms every year. "They don't just survive in dangerous places," he explained. "They choose to live there. They build their biggest cities in the most dangerous locations on their planet." Dr. Nina Brooks appeared on the screen next. She was a human scientist who studied Earth's animals and plants. Nina had brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail and wore clothes that were dirty from working outside. She was standing next to what looked like a small mountain of fur and teeth. "This is a grizzly bear," Nina said cheerfully. "They're one of Earth's large predators. They can weigh up to 800 pounds and run faster than most human vehicles." The Galactic Council members stared in horror. According to their databases, a creature like that could destroy an entire city. "Now, grizzly bears are dangerous if you surprise them or get between a mother and her babies," Nina continued. "But mostly they just want to be left alone. We've learned to live alongside them by understanding their behavior." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. "We put tracking collars on some bears so we know where they are. This helps both the bears and the humans stay safe." The idea that humans tracked apex predators instead of hiding from them was beyond the Council's understanding. "The most shocking discovery," Zethkar told the Council, "is that humans have domesticated creatures that we would classify as weapons of war." New images appeared on the screen. These showed animals that looked like small wolves living inside human homes. Children were playing with them, petting them, and even sleeping next to them. "These are called dogs," Seth Carr explained. "Humans took wolves, which are pack-hunting predators, and somehow turned them into companions. They live in human homes and are treated like family members." Council member after council member stood up to object. The idea of keeping predators as pets was insane by galactic standards. "Furthermore," Zethkar continued, "humans have domesticated dozens of other species. They keep creatures called cats, which are solitary hunters. They ride on the backs of animals called horses, which could easily kill them with one kick. They even keep poisonous snakes and spiders as companions." The Alien Council was beginning to understand that humans didn't just survive their death world. They had somehow made friends with it. Engineer Carl Stone appeared on the screen next. He was working in what looked like a human factory. Machines around him were making loud noises and throwing sparks in every direction. The temperature readings showed heat levels that would melt most galactic equipment. "Human technology is built to work in Earth's extreme environment," Zethkar explained. "This means their primitive machines are actually over-engineered by our standards. Their vehicles can drive through conditions that would destroy our best spacecraft." Carl was welding two pieces of metal together using a tool that created temperatures of over 3,000 degrees. He wore only a thin mask to protect his face and simple gloves on his hands. "He's creating stellar-level temperatures just to join two pieces of metal," one council member whispered. "And he's doing it without a full environmental suit." Dr. Nina Brooks appeared on screen again, this time standing in a field of plants that looked harmless but beautiful. These are called roses, she said, reaching out to touch one. They're popular flowers that humans grow for decoration. But as you can see, they have thorns that can cut skin. She pricked her finger on a thorn and a small drop of blood appeared. Oops, she laughed. That's what you get for not being careful. The Alien Council watched in amazement as Nina simply put her finger in her mouth for a moment, then continued talking like nothing had happened. She just suffered an injury and completely ignored it, one alien said to another. Her body is already starting to heal itself. Zethkar looked around the room at the hundreds of shocked faces. This is what we're dealing with, council members. A species that has turned one of the galaxy's most hostile environments into their comfortable home. They don't just survive extreme conditions, they thrive in them. What are you recommending? Asked Ambassador Laya Andros. I recommend we classify Earth as a Class 12 Deathworld and humans as the galaxy's first confirmed Deathworld species, Zethkar replied. They should be offered immediate membership in the Galactic Council with special status. Special status? Asked another council member. Yes, Zethkar said. We need to establish protocols for their protection and ours. Any species that can survive on Earth could accidentally hurt other galactic citizens just by being themselves. The room fell silent as the council members thought about what they had learned. Finally, Ambassador Laya Andros spoke. We will vote on this classification tomorrow. But I think we can all agree that the galaxy has never seen anything like these humans. As the council session ended, alien representatives talked quietly among themselves. Many were excited to learn more about these remarkable humans. Others were worried about what this meant for the rest of the galaxy, but all of them agreed on one thing. The universe had just become a much more interesting place. Galactic psychologist Threndel had studied the minds of over 50 different species during his long career. But nothing had prepared him for trying to understand how human brains worked. He sat in his research lab on the space station, surrounded by data about the strangest species the galaxy had ever discovered. Dr. Lewis, he said to the human anthropologist sitting across from him, I need you to explain something that makes no sense to our science. Dr. Kate Lewis smiled and set down her cup of tea. She was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and laugh lines around her eyes. As Earth's leading expert on human behavior, she had been sent to help the aliens understand her species. What's confusing you today, Threndel? She asked. The alien's 6 tentacle-like arms moved nervously as he looked at his computer screen. Yesterday, we recorded human pilot Danny Clark flying through what you call a thunderstorm. Our equipment showed conditions that should have terrified any intelligent being into complete paralysis. Yet Mr. Clark was humming a song. Kate laughed. Danny loves flying in bad weather. He says it keeps him sharp. But that's impossible, Threndel exclaimed. Fear is supposed to make beings avoid danger, not seek it out. How can humans use terror? As a form of entertainment? Kate leaned back in her chair. Humans are different, Threndel. We don't just survive stress and fear, we use them to make ourselves better. She pulled out a tablet and showed him videos of human activities. Look at this. These people are jumping out of aircraft with only pieces of cloth to slow their fall. They call it skydiving and they do it for fun. Threndel watched the video with all 6 eyes wide open. They're deliberately putting themselves in mortal danger for no survival reason? That's right, Kate said. Humans enjoy challenging themselves. We have hundreds of activities we call extreme sports. Rock climbing, deep-sea diving, racing vehicles at high speeds. We turn danger into games. The alien psychologist felt dizzy. In galactic civilization, intelligent species avoided unnecessary risks. The idea of seeking out danger for pleasure went against everything he knew about evolved behavior. Meanwhile, pilot Danny Clark was taking a group of alien observers on what he called a routine flight around Earth. Danny was a former military pilot with steady hands and sharp blue eyes. He had been flying for 20 years and loved showing off what human aircraft could do. Okay, folks, Danny said cheerfully into his radio. We're going to fly through some weather today. Nothing too exciting, just a basic storm system. In the passenger section, 3 alien scientists sat strapped into their seats wearing full environmental suits. Their sensors were already screaming warnings about the approaching storm clouds. "Pilot Clark," one of them said nervously, "our instruments show lightning activity ahead. Shouldn't we fly around it?" Danny looked at the storm clouds and grinned. "Nah, this is nothing. I've flown through much worse than this. Besides, going through the storm is faster than going around it." He pushed the aircraft forward into the dark clouds. Lightning flashed all around them, creating enough electrical energy to power a small city. The wind shook the plane like it was a toy. Rain hit the windows so hard it sounded like machine gun fire. Danny hummed a tune and adjusted his controls with calm, steady movements. To him, this was just another day at work. The aliens in the back were convinced they were about to die. Their equipment showed forces that should have torn the aircraft apart. The lightning alone could have destroyed their most advanced spacecraft. Yet Danny flew through it all like he was taking a peaceful drive through the countryside. "Beautiful storm today," Danny said over the radio. "You can really see the power of nature from up here." The aliens looked at each other in terror. Humans didn't just survive in deadly conditions. They found them beautiful, back on the space station. Dr. Lavra Kim was trying to explain human emotions to a team of alien researchers. Lavra was a psychologist who specialized in how humans dealt with stress and trauma. She wore simple clothes and had a calm way of speaking that usually helped people feel better. "So you're saying humans actually become more effective when they're afraid?" asked Velanara, the alien medical officer. "In many cases, yes," Lavra replied. "We call it the fight-or-flight response. When humans face danger, our bodies release chemicals that make us stronger, faster, and more focused." She showed them brain scans of humans in stressful situations. "Look at this. When a human is scared, their brain activity actually increases. They think faster and make quicker decisions." The alien researchers stared at the data in amazement. In their species, fear made thinking harder, not easier. "But how do you control such dangerous emotions?" asked another alien. Lavra smiled. "We don't always control them. Sometimes we use them. Human soldiers are trained to turn fear and anger into motivation. Athletes use pressure to perform better. Artists use sadness and joy to create beautiful things." The concept of using negative emotions as tools was completely foreign to galactic psychology. In the space station's cafeteria, Chef Tony Russo was preparing a meal for the alien research team. Tony was a big man with strong arms and a loud laugh. He had been cooking for 30 years and loved trying new recipes. "Okay, folks," Tony said to the alien observers. "Today I'm making something simple. Just pasta with tomato sauce and a little bit of spice." He opened a small bottle and sprinkled red flakes into the sauce. Immediately, the alien sensors went crazy with warning signals. "Chef Russo," called out Zendar, the alien nutritionist. "You just added a Class 7 biological irritant to your food." Tony looked at the bottle of red pepper flakes and chuckled. This isn't even hot. My grandmother used to make sauce that would make your eyes water from across the room." He tasted the sauce and nodded with approval. "Perfect. Just enough kick to wake up your taste buds." The aliens watched in horror as Tony ate something that their databases said should have burned holes in his stomach. "How is this possible?" Zendar whispered to his colleague. "I'm beginning to think humans evolved to eat poison," the other alien replied. That afternoon, the alien research team observed something that shocked them even more than humans eating toxins or flying through storms. They watched human children playing in a schoolyard. Dr. Kate Lewis explained what they were seeing. "Those children are playing a game called tag. One child chases the others and tries to touch them. When touched, that child becomes the chaser." The aliens watched 12 human children running around a playground at high speed, dodging between obstacles and changing direction quickly. "This looks like predator evasion training," observed Murthek, the alien behavioral scientist. "In a way it is," Kate agreed. Human children play games that teach them important survival skills. Tag teaches them to run and dodge. Hide and seek teaches them to find good hiding places and to search carefully. Another group of children was playing what humans called soccer. They kicked a ball around the field, running for nearly an hour without stopping. They're training their cardiovascular systems, noted Velanara, but they seem to enjoy it. Human children turn physical training into fun, Kate explained. We learn survival skills through play. The aliens realized they were watching something unprecedented in galactic civilization. These human children were voluntarily putting themselves through physical challenges that would be considered punishment on other worlds. Look at that! Murthic pointed to a playground structure made of metal bars and platforms. Human children were climbing up rope ladders, swinging from bar to bar and sliding down steep slides. Some of the structures were over 10 feet high. They're practicing climbing and controlled falling, Kate said. It builds strength and teaches them not to be afraid of heights. But what if they fall? Asked Velanara. Sometimes they do, Kate replied. They get small injuries, learn to be more careful, and keep playing. Humans learn from pain. That evening, Threndel was compiling his report for the Galactic Council. Everything he had learned about humans challenged the basic understanding of how intelligent life was supposed to work. Dr. Lewis, he said, I have one final question. Why do humans seek out additional challenges when your planet already provides so many? Kate thought for a moment. Because that's how we grow, Threndel. Every challenge we overcome makes us stronger and smarter. Humans don't just adapt to survive, we adapt to thrive. She looked out the window at the stars. Our planet tried to kill us for millions of years, but instead of making us weak, it made us into a species that can survive anywhere. We learn that there's no problem that can't be solved, no challenge that can't be overcome, Threndel finally understood. Humans weren't just survivors of a death world. They were the product of a planet that had spent millions of years teaching them that they could handle anything the universe might throw at them, and they had learned that lesson very well. 6 months had passed since first contact between humans and the galaxy. In the Great Council chamber, representatives from across known space gathered for the most important vote in galactic history. The question was simple but had enormous consequences. How should the galaxy deal with humanity? Ambassador Leia Andros stood at the center of the chamber, her silver skin gleaming under the lights. In her hands she held a document that would change everything. Fellow council members, she announced, after extensive study and debate, we are ready to vote on the Earth Accords. The chamber fell silent. 200 different species waited to hear how the galaxy would handle its first encounter with a Death World civilization. The proposal before us is to grant humanity special status as the galaxy's first recognized Death World species, with all the rights and protections that status provides. On Earth, Ambassador Frank Butler sat in a conference room surrounded by the best diplomats humanity could provide. Frank was a calm man in his 50s with gray hair and steady brown eyes. He had spent his career solving difficult problems between countries. Now, he was trying to solve the biggest problem in human history: how to join a galaxy that was terrified of his species. The vote is beginning, announced Dr. Lisa Carter, who was monitoring the galactic transmission. Whatever happens, Frank, remember that we've already accomplished something amazing. We've proven that Earth isn't alone in the universe. Frank nodded, but his stomach was tight with worry. If the vote went badly, humanity might find itself isolated and feared by the rest of the galaxy. Back in the council chamber, the votes were being counted. Species after species cast their decision. Some voted yes, believing that humanity could bring valuable knowledge to galactic civilization. Others voted no, worried that humans were too dangerous to integrate safely. The final tally was announced. 127 votes in favor, 73 against. Humanity had been accepted. The Earth Accords are approved, Leia Andros declared. Humanity is hereby granted membership in the Galactic Council with special Death World species status. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some aliens cheered, excited to learn from these remarkable humans. Others sat quietly, still unsure about what they had just agreed to. Furthermore, Leia Andros continued, the Council approves the establishment of the Human Survival Training Academy to be built on the neutral station at Kepler Point. This announcement caused even more excitement. The idea of learning survival techniques from Deathworld natives was both thrilling and terrifying to many species. 3 months later, Captain Alice Turner stood in front of the first class of alien students at the new academy. Alice was a former Marine who had served in some of Earth's most dangerous environments. She was strong, confident, and had a gift for teaching others to push beyond their limits. "Welcome to human survival training," she said to the 20 alien students who sat nervously in their chairs. "I want to be clear about something right from the start. We're not here to turn you into humans. We're here to help you discover what you're capable of." The students came from 12 different species. Some could breathe different gases, others had different numbers of limbs, and a few didn't even have solid bodies. But they all had one thing in common. They wanted to learn how humans survive the impossible. "Your first lesson," Alice continued, "is about fear. On my world, we have a saying, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of fear." She showed them videos of human children learning to swim. "Look at these young humans. They're afraid of the water at first. But instead of avoiding it, they learn to work with their fear. They use it to stay alert and focused." One of the alien students, a small creature with blue fur named Kiptel, raised a tentacle. "Instructor Turner, how do we practice being afraid without actually dying?" Alice smiled. "Good question. We start small and work our way up. Today, we're going to practice something humans call deep breathing. It helps control fear and stress." The breathing exercises were harder than the aliens expected. Human breathing techniques required them to take in much more air than they were used to. Several students felt dizzy, but Alice encouraged them to keep trying. "Remember," she said, "humans live in an environment with high oxygen levels. Our breathing methods are designed for intense situations. Take your time and find what works for your biology." Meanwhile, on a distant planet called Zarian Prime, Dr. Greg Mitchell was working with local scientists to solve a problem that had puzzled them for years. Greg was a human biologist who specialized in extreme environments. He had been invited to help terraform a world that was considered too hostile for normal colonization. "The problem," explained Zorthek, the lead Zarian scientist, "is that our planet's surface temperature varies by over 60 degrees between day and night. Most galactic species cannot survive such extreme changes." Greg looked at the data and shrugged. "That's not too bad. On Earth, some places change by 80 degrees in a single day. Humans have learned to live in all kinds of temperature extremes." He showed them images of humans living in Earth's desert regions, where daytime temperatures reached over 120 degrees and nighttime temperatures dropped below freezing. "The key is understanding that extreme conditions aren't always problems to be solved," Greg explained. "Sometimes they're resources to be used." Working together, Greg and the Zarian scientists developed new building techniques that used the planet's temperature changes to generate power. Instead of fighting the extreme weather, they learned to work with it. "This is revolutionary," Zorthik said, as they watched their test building automatically adjust to the changing temperature. "We've been trying to make our planet more like other worlds when we should have been learning to make it work for us." Greg nodded. "That's the human way. When life gives you a death world, you make it into a home." Back at the Human Survival Training Academy, Captain Alice Turner was teaching her students about something called controlled failure. The concept was so foreign to galactic thinking that it required multiple translators to explain. "Humans learn by making mistakes," Alice told her class. "We call it trial and error. The important thing is to fail safely, learn from what went wrong, and try again." She set up a simple obstacle course in the training room. It had low walls to climb over, ropes to swing from, and balance beams to walk across. "I want each of you to try this course," Alice said. "I expect you to fall down, make mistakes, and get frustrated. That's not failure, that's learning." The alien students looked at each other nervously. In their cultures, making mistakes in front of others was embarrassing and shameful, Kiptel went first. The small blue alien tried to climb over the first wall but fell backward onto the soft padding below. Instead of giving up, Alice encouraged him to try again. "What did you learn from that attempt?" she asked. "That I need to get a better grip before I pull myself up," Kiptel replied. "Exactly. Now try again with that knowledge." On his second attempt, Kiptel made it over the wall. His fellow students cheered, and for the first time, the alien smiled. One by one, each student attempted the course. They all fell down at least once, but with Alice's encouragement, they all eventually succeeded. "You've just learned the most important human survival skill," Alice told them at the end of the lesson. "Persistence. Humans don't give up when things get difficult. We find another way." Meanwhile, Dr. Greg Mitchell's work on Zarian Prime had caught the attention of galactic engineers everywhere. His techniques for working with extreme environments instead of against them were being applied to dozens of worlds that had been considered uninhabitable. "Dr. Mitchell," said Engineer Velmore during a galactic conference call, "your human methods have allowed us to colonize 3 worlds that we had given up on. How did your species develop such innovative thinking?" Greg laughed. "We didn't have a choice. Earth forced us to be creative or die. After millions of years of that kind of pressure, humans got pretty good at finding solutions to impossible problems." The conference call included scientists from across the galaxy, all eager to learn human problem-solving techniques. "The key," Greg continued, "is to stop thinking about problems as things to be avoided. Start thinking about them as puzzles to be solved. Every challenge is just a chance to become smarter and stronger." 1 year after first contact, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Human survival techniques were being taught on over 50 worlds. Human problem-solving methods had led to breakthroughs in engineering, medicine, and agriculture. Most importantly, other species were beginning to see challenges as opportunities instead of threats. Ambassador Frank Butler stood before the Galactic Council for the annual review of the Earth Accords. The chamber was much more friendly now than it had been during the first vote. "The integration of humanity into galactic civilization has exceeded all expectations," Laia Andros announced. "Human innovation and resilience have benefited every member species." Frank smiled as he looked around the chamber. Many of the alien representatives were wearing small pins that showed they had completed human survival training. Others had adopted human problem-solving methods in their own work. "We've learned something important this year," Frank said when invited to speak. "The galaxy doesn't need to fear Earth's deathworld nature. It needs to learn from it."